Hi everybody, welcome back to Riggs Garage. This is Eric, and today I am working on the heads for my 70 Mustang Fastback project. I have some casting number D00E or DOOE Ford heads from 1969. I got them from a guy who had a fully rebuilt engine that was never ran, and it was sitting in his garage and he was just selling parts off of it. So these heads are fresh from the machine shop. They have fresh milling surfaces, there's assembly lube in the valve guides, they have new springs, retainers, things like that. So I took them and I wanted to get a little extra horsepower out of them just for fun, so I'm doing an exhaust side port. So the Ford heads do have notoriously bad exhaust ports, so I'll show you a couple things I did to clean those up. This is budget minded. You know, it might only give me 10 to 15 horsepower. I'm not sure. I don't have a dyno to prove anything to you, but I'll show you what I've done so far. I'm following a small resource. It was a PDF file that somebody shared with me on one of the Mustang forums, so I'm going to link to that below. So you can see it, and I'll probably pop it up on the screen here from time to time so you can look at it and reference it as I talk about it. So here we go. If you like this Mustang, any of the projects you see here, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more cool stuff coming. Thank you. One of the main purposes of this porting is to get rid of this smog air injector bump that you can see right here. The back side of this is like nearly the size of a dime, and it slows down the outflow from that exhaust. Some say 20 to 30%. First thing you want to do is knock that out of there. It's just a chunk of iron that stops flow. One of the big problems with the Ford small block cylinder head castings is this one's not too bad, but a lot of them have pretty serious lip around here that restricts the airflow, kind of like your teeth in your mouth restrict the airflow out of your mouth. So in this case, we'd just be grinding off everything around the edge here to match the ports. Okay, let's get to business. The first thing you're going to want to do is tape off the intake ports so you don't get any metal shavings in there. That'd be a disaster. Next, you're going to hang your exhaust header gasket on the head so you can trace the exhaust ports and get everything fit correctly. Get your paint pen or whiteout pen or whatever you're using and trace the ports. This is going to make a template for you to grind the metal away. Jam some paper towels down in the exhaust port. Now, if you didn't use a paint pen or something like that, you'll want to do this before you make the marks as your template. You don't want to rub those marks off. In this case, it didn't cause a problem. So push them in there really tight. You don't want any metal shavings down there. You'll probably get a few, but I'll show you how to clean those out here in a minute. Throw a valve cover on top of it to keep metal shavings out of the valve train area. First thing I'm going to do is knock out that lump in there with a fairly aggressive carbide burr. Alright, I worked that injector bump out of there until it's smooth. I use my fingers often to feel for progress. Then I begin to work around the edges there, taking off material until I get near the edge of the white line. I take it fairly gradually. Be careful if you have a really aggressive bit. Throughout the process, you'll see me test fitting the gasket here and also vacuuming out metal shavings to try to keep things under control. I'm trying to be super careful here so I don't take off too much metal. I can't add any more. I can only take it off. As we all know, cleanup is extremely important. So what I've done to these heads, after I pulled the wadding out, I blasted them out with air, and now what I'm doing is I'm giving the exhaust side spring slight compression so I can push the valve down. I'm I'm going to blast some carb spray through here to make sure any fine metal dust is out of there, because that junk's going to wreck an engine. Make sure you spray down the outside of the head first, because it's covered in metal dust. Get that out of the way, and it'll also help you prep for paint. Alright, now down into the valve. You'll find there's metal dust everywhere. So if you run your finger in the combustion chamber, you can kind of see a few places I have a little bit of dust. I don't want any of that in the engine, so I'm going to hit these chambers starting top bottom. I kind of figured this project encapsulated, the early hot rodding, taking stock castings and doing what you can with those castings with the budget that you have to get the last bit of horsepower out of a stock engine that you can. So I think that's kind of what this little project did, and I hope there are results coming from it. So we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching, guys.